This is Support is Sexy, episode 313, and today we're starting our series called Why Are You Hiding? Our first topic, imposter syndrome. Welcome to Support is Sexy. I'm your host, Elayne Fluker, entrepreneur, author, and founder of Chic Rebellion Media. 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, I interview inspiring women entrepreneurs who share their wins and their lessons to help you take your business and your life to the next level and create something sexy. Here we go. Hi everyone, welcome to a new episode of Support is Sexy. I'm happy to have you here. It just would not be the same without you. And today is the first episode in the series that we're doing. I spoke about this last week, so go back and listen to last Friday's episode if you haven't heard that already. But we're going to talk about why are you hiding? Something that I was confronted with by a coach that I spoke to recently. And it really made me begin to think of the reasons why I may be hiding and why some of you may be hiding, even if you're not conscious of it, which I was not before I had this conversation with the coach. And not that it's true or false that I'm hiding or not, but it really is about taking a look and seeing if I and you are playing it as big as we can, because we have these big dreams, we have a great vision, we're up to something big, but there might be reasons that we're playing it safe and small. So this week, we're going to talk about some of the reasons some of us hide and ways that we can confront those things, bring those things to light, or just look at them and see, is this something that is really stopping me from doing all of the things that I want to do in my business and in my life? So today we're going to talk about imposter syndrome. And you might have heard people mention imposter syndrome, especially a lot recently. I feel like it's been coming up a lot, maybe because more and more people, successful people, quote unquote, successful people, are being more honest about their true feelings. We see people in these high positions and we see them as successful and we think they have it all together and they must know how confident they are and have everything all in order. And a lot of people are going through feelings of self-doubt just like the rest of us. So imposter syndrome was actually coined in 1978 by two psychologists, two women, Suzanne Imes and Pauline Rose Clance. And they called imposter syndrome something that occurs in high achievers who are unable to internalize and accept their success. And they say these people often attribute their accomplishments to luck rather than ability, and fear that others will eventually unmask them as a fraud. So in other words, they'll be found out that they don't know as much as it seems like they know, or that they shouldn't really be in whatever position that they're in, or that they don't deserve the success that they have. Does any of this sound familiar? Sometimes we go through that, some kind of achievement, some kind of success, even if it's for a short time. You might have a moment or a long period where you feel like, what am I doing here? Or I hope they don't find out that I don't know as much as I think they know, even if it's something that you're great at. Again, this is usually for high achievers who have this feeling of feeling like they don't belong or someone's going to uncover that they are a fraud. And the reason I felt this was important for us to talk about first in this series on why are you hiding is because imposter syndrome is something that can often be dismissed now, maybe because we're talking about it more and it's part of our consciousness now. We sometimes dismiss it as, oh, I have imposter syndrome, or this is what I'm experiencing, brush it off. But the thing is, studies show that imposter syndrome can lead to stress, anxiety, and depression. Because again, when you think about it, the cause of it or at the root of it is thinking that you don't belong somewhere, which can definitely cause stress and anxiety. Even if you're successful, it's also thinking you're going to be found out or that you're going to fail and everyone's going to find out that you actually weren't as smart or as good or whatever at whatever you were doing. So we want to make sure that we talk about that because stress, anxiety, depression, these are all things that I'm starting to focus a lot more on now, mental health and wellness, as I begin to do more research for the Support is Sexy book. I've talked about this before. Of course, I've been on a mission about this idea that support is sexy for more than a year, but really in doing the research and seeing how many of us, especially as women, are becoming depressed or are depressed, how many of us are taking our lives, it's a much bigger issue than we tend to talk about. So this is why why I wanted to start off with imposter syndrome. If you are in this space where you're feeling like you don't deserve to be in this position that you're in, you're having stress or anxiety around this thing, let's talk about it a little bit with just a few ideas of how to counter imposter syndrome. So the first thing that came to mind right away is a quote that I often talk about from my friend Marlon Peterson, who says, "You are an expert of your own experiences." It was so powerful when he said it. I guess it was over a year ago now. And I repeat it often to myself and to other people when we have this feeling of, well, I'm not an expert in this area, even sometimes when we are an expert. But still, whatever you're doing, other than something like brain surgery or something where you need a certain amount of training or a specific type of training in order to do this certain practice, you are an expert of your own experiences. We all have experiences in our lives. We all have something to bring to the table, to voice our opinion, to tell what we want to create in the world based on our own experiences. So remember, at the core of it, you are an expert of your own experiences. And then everything else, education, training, internships, anything else that you add on to that is bonus. But you have your own experiences and you start from that place. So you are not an imposter. You deserve to be wherever you are because you are an expert of your own experiences. The next thing is, think about the fact that you chose this work, whatever you're doing, for a reason. You were given this vision for a reason. It was given to you, not to me, not to anybody else. You have a vision. So write down why you think you're good at this thing. What are the reasons that you are in that successful position? Sometimes we forget, oh yeah, I've been doing this for 20 years, or I have this level of experience, not just your own expertise, but other kinds of experiences that you have. Write them down. And really write them down, not just think about them, type them in your phone. There's power. There's studies on this too. There's power in writing things down. So write down, why are you good at these things that you're doing? We have to remind ourselves, is it that it's a certain amount of experience that you have? Is it that you have a personal experience with this? Is it that a certain kind of training that you've done? Is it something else? What are the reasons that you're good at this thing? Write those reasons down so you can remind yourself that you chose this work for a reason. There is a reason that you're there. There is a reason people look to you to be the expert. There is a reason that you are successful at this thing. Is this something that people have been telling you for ages that you're good at, and you just aren't remembering in this moment that this is something that has always been easy for you? You know, that's a thing too. Sometimes when things come easy to us, we think this must be easy to everybody. And sometimes that is the thing too that makes us feel like we're a fraud. We're not really a quote unquote expert because this thing isn't hard for us. If you're someone who is gifted at math and you speak to someone who's not and they see you as an expert, this doesn't mean you're any less than an expert or you are any less experienced in that area. It comes easily for you, but still it is your gift. It is something that you're using in the world. It is something people can get from you. And then on the other side, there may be something that other person has that isn't as easy for you. So remember, that's another thing. If it's easy for you or it comes easy for you to even learn it, it doesn't make you any less of an expert because you think it has to be hard. It doesn't have to be hard for you to be a success at it. So write down again all of the reasons that this vision was given to you, all of the reasons that you're good at this thing. Another thing I will say, maybe you're not at the level of complete expertise in this area. Maybe you're still in the process. Maybe you're still learning. Perhaps you're good at a certain part of it, and other things, you still have something to learn. I believe all of us, at no matter what level we are, still have areas to learn, whether it's personally or professionally. So I say, to avoid imposter syndrome, be transparent about your level of expertise. So meaning you've learned something up to a certain point. There might be other things you don't know. Don't try to hide that. I think actually that's the danger of the quote unquote fake it till you make it motto, pretending that you have something or you know something until you actually do. Well, how about we be transparent about the things that we don't know? There is a way to still be an expert in an area and then say, this is something else that I'm still learning. This is something else that I'm working on. This is something where you bring in a different kind of expert in that area. Like me, for example, I am an expert in the area of writing stories, creating content, creating brand stories, helping people communicate those stories. I am not an expert in the area of marketing. There are things that I know about marketing, things that I want to do, but if I were looking to bring in someone with a certain level of expertise, I would bring in someone in marketing. Otherwise, I'm going to be faking it until I make it. So if I were being transparent about my expertise in my business, for example, I would say the areas that I just mentioned that I'm an expert in, and then talk about the people that I know and I have access to who are experts in the area of marketing. So this way, I don't feel like an imposter because I'm not trying to pretend that I know everything. I don't. I have a specialty, and most of us do, and it's actually better to have a specialty. Maybe you want to know a little bit about everything. Like I said, I know a little bit about what I want to do in marketing, what interests me, things I want to know more about, but I look to other experts in that area the same way people look to me to write brand stories, to help them tell their stories and that kind of thing. It comes easily for me. These other things come easier for other people in marketing or whatever space. Accounting, same thing. I have an accountant because he has a specialty in that area. So be transparent about what you know. I think we live in a society where so many of us so many of us feel like we have to hide behind this facade of us knowing everything. Well, you know what? You don't. And people know that you don't. So be transparent about it so you don't stress yourself out trying to keep up this image that you know everything. You don't feel like an imposter when you're being honest about what you know and the other areas where you can fill in the gaps. And that is actually the fourth thing that I want to mention when talking about imposter syndrome. You can always fill in the gaps in your knowledge. And I will say, speaking to all the ladies out there, this is something that men do very well. They can go into an interview, a situation, and talk their way around the things that they do know how to do, which is great. The things that they don't know how to do, most men, I won't say all because I don't like to paint a wide brush, right? A wide stroke. But most men feel like they can fill in the gaps in the knowledge. If I get the job, I get in there, I can make up the difference. Whereas women, because of a lot of reasons, basically society has taught us this, but because of a lot of reasons, we as women often feel like I have to know everything 150% before I even go for it. Never mind when you get in the room. Before I even go for it, I have to have everything perfect, complete. Again, not all women, but studies have shown that a lot of us feel like, again, for different reasons, we feel like we have to have everything in order. Here's the thing I want you to know. You can fill in the gaps in your knowledge. You've written down your area of expertise. You remember that you're an expert of your own experiences. So there are things that you know. You're not going into whatever you're doing blind. You're in this position. You're a success for a reason. There are things that you don't know. As we said, you're being transparent about that. So be honest with yourself too. Are there places where you can get some more information, or are there places where you can benefit from some support? You know, we're all about it around here, right? Support is sexy. So don't be shy about saying you're an expert in this certain area, but here are the things that you want to know. So write down areas that you want to learn more about, and then live the question. Be open to the opportunities for you to learn those things. That might come in the form of a mentor. That might come in the form of a course that you want to take. That might come in the form of an apprenticeship or an internship. But what are the ways that you can fill in the gap in your knowledge so you don't feel like an imposter in what you're doing? You're successful. You're there for a reason. This vision was given to you for a reason. How can you play full out and stop hiding and really feel like you belong in this place? You were given this for a reason. You're there for a reason. We need you to be fully there and fully present so you can live as big as you deserve to live. And you don't want to feel like an imposter when you're in that space because, as I mentioned earlier, imposter syndrome can often lead to stress, anxiety, and depression. And women, more than ever, are facing so many challenges when it comes to mental health, trying to have it all and do it all alone, which is something, you know, I always say, having it all does not mean doing it all alone. So I don't want you to feel like you're in this position of success and that you don't deserve to be there, that you're an imposter, that people are going to find you out at any minute, that you're going to be found out to be a fraud. You're there for a reason. You made it happen. You pushed forward. You set the intention. You did the work. So now these are some of the other ways that you can grow and feel confident in yourself and belonging in this position. You are not an imposter. You deserve to be there. All right, so I hope you enjoyed that first episode in our series of Why Are You Hiding? And tomorrow we're going to talk about even more. We're going to go into a little bit of a piggyback of imposter syndrome, but really talking about, are you good enough? All right, so I look forward to talking to you again tomorrow. Until then, I want you to go out there, know that you belong in this position that you're in, and create something sexy. And I'll talk to you soon. Take care.